Hi, welcome to the Bowie Business Journal. I'm your host, Pauline Markward with the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. And today my guest is Linzey, Action Coach. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you for having me, Pauline. How are you?
Oh, very good, thank you. Eric, you're a fabulous action coach, but what I'd like to talk about first is how you got into action coaching, what brought you here, and what brought you to Maryland?
Well, thank you for having me, Pauline, on the Bowie Business Journal. Always wanted to be in the show. I think I've been on it before with David Emanuel. And this is my first interview with you, as you're the new executive director, so congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'm very excited.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you. What brought me to Action Coach was after about 23 years of working in a variety of different positions, a variety of different levels, both with the private sector and the public sector. I always wanted to start my own company. I wanted to also help people in some way. I'm not sure what it was, but what I did do was, once I completed my MBA in Maryland, did a lot of introspection, of course, and try to figure out how can I create a business that I would love to do and still make it profitable at some point. And coaching turned into that. And Action Coach had a system in place. They're the #1 business coaching firm in the world, ranked by a number of franchise companies. So that was a great attraction. But what really attracted me to be an Action Coach, a certified business coach with Action Coach, was the community. It was the family aspect. It was, I can call on a number of coaches and we can all help each other out. So there is no level of competition. It's just how can we help each other out by helping other businesses.
And you ended up in Maryland?
Yes. Yes, I'm originally from the U.S. Virgin Islands. I moved here towards the end of 1999, over almost 18 years ago, and I've been here ever since.
Yeah, that's a lifetime. And what brought you here?
In this particular area, probably because...
Well, to the States. What brought you to the U.S.? I mean, who would want to leave the Caribbean? I'm just saying.
Well, look what's going on there now. There's a hurricane, so a lot of people are saying, we should probably leave. I think it was just opportunity, a different level of opportunity, education. I did my master's here. I can do my graduate work here, my undergrad work here. So a lot of it had to do with just, at that time I was still young at the time. I'm still young now, but at that time I was much younger. And I just wanted to expand and just sort of, explore what the U.S. had to offer. And being there's so much to offer here, why not come here?
Okay, so your first stop, you get off the airplane, and then what?
Unpacked my suitcase.
Where did you land?
I landed, my first job here was in Towson University. I did my undergrad at Towson. This was way back in the early 2000s, and I actually was an on-site consultant with the Center for Geographic Information Sciences.
Oh, and what is that?
What that is, we did a lot of geospatial science work. It was a lot of mapping systems, geospatial systems, GPS. So I did a lot of work on data collection, data analysis, data representation for different agencies here in the state of Maryland. And that was particularly with the state of Maryland. After that, after about doing that for like 4 or 5 years, I did a contracting work with the U.S. federal government in the same area, geospatial sciences, a lot of policy work as well. And after about 9 or 10 years of doing a lot of work overseas, international development work in Africa, the Americas, Central, South America, and the Caribbean, a lot of international development work there. I had the great opportunity of representing the United States as an accredited advisor. And being accredited means that you're allowed to represent U.S. policy at United Nations meetings or United Nations sponsored meetings. I've been to a number of those as part of U.S. delegations. So I had a great honor representing our country in doing those things in Africa, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and even in Geneva. I spent a lot of time in Geneva as well.
Now, your favorite? For lack of a better term, mission.
My favorite place?
Let's start with your favorite place.
I think where I am is always my favorite.
That's a good,
there you go.
Good answer.
Honestly, wherever you are, you make it your favorite because you're there for a reason. You're there because, for a lot of different reasons. So you always make it the best. You make it the best experience that you can have wherever you are. But in terms of probably a lot of experience was probably in Geneva, where we sat around maybe about 140 countries, all meeting over a certain period of time, discussing a lot of different issues. So, working, 16, 17, 18-hour days with different countries representing the U.S. with your team that's there. That was a wonderful and humbling experience to go through that.
Yeah. So Africa, tell me about that. I've not been.
Africa was interesting. It was the exact same situation where that was my portfolio when I worked with U.S. government. That was one of the areas that I worked on, was ensuring that a lot of the things that we do, that we support in Africa, would definitely not only build some of the organizations that we worked with there, but it was also helping U.S. citizens as well. One example is, let's say for example, hurricane tracking. A lot of the hurricanes, they originate on West Africa. So it behooves us to ensure that we have really good instruments in the ocean, satellites, or on the ground in Africa, to make sure that we can actually improve those models, for example, weather models and climate models, for example. So things like that. You work with people, you get to know them over time, you share stories, and you create a really great relationship. But at the same time, it's about the mission. It's really about what's in the best interest of the U.S. and what's in the best interest of the organization. So we always created a win-win situation. So those experiences obviously led me to start thinking, well, what do I enjoy doing? I've been doing this for so many years. Living out of a suitcase is not as glamorous as everyone thinks it is. You leave your family behind for a lot of period of time, for weeks upon weeks, or sometimes months upon months. You miss things, and I'm kind of like, you know what? It's time. I really don't want to do that anymore. So, and I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be a business owner, which I am. And starting, looking back to my career, looking back at what I enjoyed doing, coaching stood out the most, and I just started to jump all over it and enjoy it and get it done.
I think the one way to guarantee a paycheck is to own your own business.
That's one way of doing it, yes. Yes.
So it sounds like you have always coached.
In a strange way, yes. We always, coaching, you look for opportunities to grow with another business or another company. So for example, a lot of my clients, or a lot of people that I meet, they want to grow their business in some ways. They're like, I want more money, I want more profit or revenue. So I take them through a business analysis, which is free. I take them through a simple business analysis, ask a lot of questions. Because obviously as a coach, it is a personal relationship where you're learning a lot about that person. They tell you about their family, they tell you about some of the issues they're having in their business. And it's their business, it's personal to them. That's their baby. So you take that respect with you when you talk to that person. But at the same time, you have that empathy. At the same time, you're holding that person accountable to say, okay, you want more profit or revenue in your business. You want a hiring system. You're looking at your sales technique. You're looking at your marketing. You're looking at your social media techniques, things like that. You still have to create a goal. You still have to say, well, if you really want this, here's what it looks like to get there. And are you willing to do that hard work to get there? And you're working with that person hand in hand to get them to that point. Okay,
and knowing you interview the people that you're going to coach, and actually, I guess you don't hire everybody that wants you.
Correct.
I'm not sure a nice way to say that.
There is no nice way. There's only the real way to say it. Everyone that I've talked to would love to be coached. They said, yes, we need this. But in reality, and I'm also coached as well. I do have a coach that's also an action coach. And they keep me accountable to my goal. They keep me accountable on a weekly basis to say, okay, what do you do? What are your activities this week? What are you doing? What are you doing for growth? What are you learning? Because you learn something new every day. What books are you reading? What videos are you watching? Who are you talking to? And what are you doing to build your company? What are you doing to hire people? So it's the same thing. You keep those folks accountable. So you really want to work with people who want to build their business, who are willing and able to take their business to where they would like to get it. And to be quite frank, I don't want to waste anyone's time or money. My best advice, or one of the best advices I will give today on your show, would be if a business owner is listening to this and they want to hire a coach, make sure that you get what you are paying for. Make sure that it's an investment. Make sure you get that investment back. One of the things that I tell almost all of my clients, actually, all of the clients I work with, is within a certain period of time, whatever investment you put into coaching, it should grow your business. Those strategies and those tactics, you should see that money back. And that's the challenge, to get a really good, it doesn't have to be me, it could be any coach out there, action coach or not, for action coach of course, but you definitely want to work with people who are seriously going to grow your business, but you take them seriously as well.
When you're looking to bring on a new client, how do you choose the personality that works best with you? Is there a particular, is it an A, B personality? How does that?
That's actually a really good question. I definitely try to work with people who you connect with. So when I prospect clients and when I prospect business owners who want to grow their business, it is a process. It's not like, I dare say you go to a vending machine, you pick your number and then you just get it. No, it's a bit longer. I get to know the person a little bit longer. We get to know each other. We have telephone conversations. We meet face to face even before, we formalize the relationship of becoming business owners who are working together to grow that business. So there is a process involved, and a lot of it has to do with definitely getting to know that person, getting them to understand this is what the coaching process is all about. Here's my expectations, and here's what you should expect of me as your coach. So a lot of ways, the best personality, I would say, are those folks who at the end will say, yes, this is good. This is a good fit for me from a systems perspective, for what they're going to get out of coaching, but also me as a coach and them as a business owner. Are we a good fit for each other? And that's very important as well.
You coach then people, not businesses. Are there certain businesses you stay away from, or do you gravitate towards a type of business?
I tend to, well, our motto, our tagline is a coach in every business. We believe that, at Action Coach, we certainly believe that every business should have a coach. Every organization should have a coach because there's always a growth opportunity there. In the Bowie area, because I sort of have clients in DC, Howard County, in that triangle area, Annapolis area. A lot of home improvement companies are really good to coach because there's always a growth element there. Every business is a growth element, in my belief. But I've had different businesses, mixed martial arts gym, for example, personal trainers, home improvement companies, you name it, plumbers, painters, all that kind of. There isn't a business I can't say no to, I would say. I haven't met that business yet. I hope not to meet that business because I definitely see opportunities for growth for the business. But you are correct in saying I do coach the business owner. I work with them, and at certain point in the coaching time frame, I work with their teams on whatever that team particularly needs. If they need a sales process, we work with them. They need sales training, we work with them. So there's a lot that we can do in between.
Okay. I also understand, just from being friends with you, that it's not just the business person that you're coaching. If people's lives aren't locked on, their businesses can't be locked on. So you probably spend quite a bit of time listening to some other things that aren't really business oriented.
It's an 80-20, I would say. It's 80% business technique and strategies and tactics and those type of things in the business world, and 20% personal coaching. I'm not a personal coach, I can tell you that. We focus on the business, but you're absolutely right. For example, a lot of times I would walk into a business just to walk in, for example, a restaurant. You walk into a restaurant, sometimes you can actually tell that I can always pinpoint the business owner mentality. I can always pinpoint what kind of business owner owns the company, because the business owner is responsible for the hiring process. So they hire who they know. They hire sometimes what they need. And sometimes you meet the staff and then you meet the business owner, because the business owner is responsible for setting the tone of the business. If a business fails, it's the business owner's issue. If a business succeeds, it's the business owner who led that success with their team. So a lot of times you look for that. So yes, I hear a lot of interesting stories, a lot of very heartfelt stories, and everyone's in business for a different reason. I've met people who are in business so that they can actually create something for a homeless community. That's a serious thing. They want to build their business to make it profitable, where they can build a center for homeless folks in a certain area. That's a pretty serious thing. That's heartfelt. That's their dream. So why don't we just work together and make that dream come true? Because it takes money to do that. So build a business to support that dream.
What are some ideas that you can give our viewers to how to square away their businesses? And
We can be here all day. Like I said, one of the first things I do is offer a business analysis. So every business is different. You can have 10 restaurants on the same block. All of them have different set of issues. They may have a commonality in between them, but every business is different. So I always offer a free business analysis where I would sit with the business owner and say, okay, I would take them through my process. Some of the common things that I've heard around there are sort of hiring the right people for a company. My best advice is hire slow and fire fast. When you hire slow, you take your time in understanding who you're going to hire. You always get what you ask for. So
true.
always ask for the right questions. Always know what you're asking for. And when I would say fire, think of it as, you're on a boat and you have 20 people on your boat. And you have 2 of those people who are literally drilling a hole in your boat. That's your business. Why would you keep them on your boat? You see? Get rid of them.
It's a good analogy.
I mean, I don't want to sound crass or mean, but you have to make the decision. You have to have the gumption as a business owner to make those hard decisions to say, look, you're not good for my business. I have to do something about it. Because that decision, if you don't make that decision, look at it this way. You're making the decision to have these people in your business. You're okay with it. So the other 18 people are also part of that team. So if you have a high achiever and they're looking at someone sabotaging your business and you as an owner isn't doing anything about it, that's a great way to get rid of your high achievers. So I would always say hire slow, find out who you want to hire and set those systems up where you get the right people in front of you and you can make that good choice, and fire fast. That's one of my advices out there.
Good. We've talked, and sometimes people have this feeling, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Well, one, if you hired them, you should be the one to release them. But also, at the end of the day, it's business. There isn't room for hurt feelings. That doesn't mean to go out and be ugly to somebody. But we do have to let people go.
Yeah.
Even if we like them.
Yes, it's a business decision. You definitely want to have a heart. Because you started your business because of a passion, because your heart's there. So you definitely want to have a level of empathy. It's not a hard. It is a hard thing to do to fire someone. But now let's look at your business. Why did you get into business? So instead of focusing on who should I fire, focus on creating a hiring system where you hire the people that you will stay with, and those people will stay with you. And we have a process for that. And I actually just went through, today I coached a client, and we actually went through the hiring process and took her through the hiring process. And in the end, she ended up with 4 people that she can't say no to, but she has to hire one person.
Right.
So taking her through that process saved her, a lot of anguish in going through like resumes. We didn't go through that. It was just know what you're asking for, and then be very specific with a lot of clarity. Be clear as to what you're asking for, and then ask the question.
Very true. I can't meet your expectations if I don't know what they are.
Exactly.
And nothing's like kind of wandering around in the dark with that.
Exactly. And as a coach, that's something that I do with a lot of business owners. Is looking at the hiring system. A lot of businesses say I have high turnover in terms of my employees going, firing them, and I say, well, who's responsible for that? And sometimes you got to really just lay it out and be very honest and very clear and say, this is the deal. And then you go through a process where you can instill in the business a system where you sort of reduce that impact as much as possible.
Yeah, I think we might have time for one more suggestion.
One more suggestion.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2. If you're watching this and you're a business owner, join the chamber. Join the Greater Bowie Chamber of Commerce. There's a lot of great things that the chamber is doing. I understand the board has changed recently, and there's a lot of new activity happening in the city of Bowie, which is great to hear.
Yes,
you have a great event coming up in the next, I think it's October 7th, the Bowie Fest, or the Brewery Fest.
Yes.
I'm trying to enunciate here. The Brewery Fest, I think that's a great event coming up. So that would be another tip I would say. Join the chamber. Come visit our chamber. I'm also a member. I'm also a sponsor of this chamber. So it's always good to see what we have to offer, see who you can connect with, and see if you can get some business out of it. That's important.
And I have an open door policy. So
And
if
Pauline
you're
has an
in the
open door
area,
policy.
please stop
Yep.
by, knock. If I'm not there,
Yep.
call, email.
Yep.
But, yeah.
And your staff person?
Yes, my
Yes.
staff.
Yes.
Cecily, she's wonderful.
She's great.
But yeah, so we have.
So another tip, besides engaging with a coach, even talk to a coach. I'm a business owner. And when you're a business owner, you sort of sometimes feel alone. You feel by yourself. You have no one to talk to. Fortunately, we have a system in place where I can pick up the phone and talk to a coach, and we can relate. We can email each other, relate. I can talk to coaches anywhere from the UK, Australia, New Zealand, all through the US, South America, the Caribbean, and we all get it. When you're a business owner, sometimes you're alone. Sometimes you may feel like, wow, I have no one to talk to. Find a peer group that you can join so that they understand what you're going through, so that you don't take it all in. It's not something that you keep inside. You definitely want to have that in your life as well, where you're part of that group, and your coach, does that for you in part. They lead you to these groups. They're there to vent, just get out of your way, and then make a decision. What I would say is another piece of that advice is it goes back to make a decision. Good, bad, indifferent. Make a decision. Be clear on what you want. Have that sense of clarity in your position in your business and your goals, and then be clear in the next steps that you would like to make in getting there. It's very important to do that. So yeah.
No decision is a decision in itself.
Yes.
And I know if I struggle, if I just, right or wrong, whatever decision it is, oh, what a relief it is just to make that decision.
Yeah.
So you're right.
And sometimes we get stuck in analyzing the decision, if-then statements.
Yeah.
We look at a whole bunch of charts, we try to figure out in our mind what's going on, and we sort of get different personality types get stuck in the paralysis by analysis. But as a business owner, make a decision. Make that decision, because it'll cost you in the end. So you don't, we do talk about profit and revenue, but it'll cost you. Make that decision. Just go for
Okay,
it.
I do want to give you an opportunity
Sure.
to plug. I understand you were selected to host Action Coach. So please spend a few minutes to talk about what you're doing.
Yes, there's on November 15th, coming up soon. So go to my website. You'll see the event link. It's called the Maryland Business Excellence Forum and Awards. I have 4 very special, very amazing speakers coming in. They volunteered to come to Maryland and do this. This is the first time they're all going to be on stage in Maryland together.
Oh, wow.
So we have Brad Sugars. He's the founder of Action Coach. We're celebrating 25 years of Action Coach being in existence globally. So he's coming to Maryland to talk about wealth creation through your business. When we define wealth, people think about wealth as, it's money. No, it's not. We define wealth as, what do you do on a daily basis? How wealthy are you in a healthy way? How are your relationships? Are they wealthy? Things like that. So he wrote a book on the Wealth Coach, and that's also going to be, I think it's already published, but I think it's releasing pretty soon. So we have Brad Sugars coming. We have Paul Dunn, who's the chairperson of what's called Buy One, Give One. Paul Dunn is an international speaker. He's also one of my mentors as well. Brad Sugars is also one of my mentors. We talk on a monthly basis. Paul Dunn, coming out of Singapore. He's been to the US before, so this will be his first time on stage with Brad in Maryland, talking about the power of small. Power of small in your business. What are the small things you can do in your business to create a huge impact in your community and in your business? Very powerful stuff. Direct business strategy, direct business tactics as well. Then we also have Trav Bell. Trav Bell, he's the bucket list guy. Talks about how to create a plan to live out your life bucket list. I've met, all these speakers I've met before. Fascinating guy. Trav Bell is high energy. He'll make you think in different ways. If you think of your bucket list, he shows you a way to do that, and then shows you another way in terms of how to implement, execute that plan. Very fascinating stuff. He's an exciting guy. I met him earlier this year at one of our Action Coach America's forums, and I just had to have him here. He was amazing.
Good. I'm so excited for you.
Thanks. And then we have Richard Maloney. Richard Maloney talks about exactly what we talked about earlier, hiring and firing. But what's important about your hiring process is and this is what we talk about with Richard Maloney, is the engagement piece. It's you hire slow, fire fast, but then you want to keep people on board. It's all about the engagement. Training is dead. You can train someone in a certain aspect, but that's just training. We're talking about engagement. She's going to talk about the engagement process, engage and grow. We talk about that engagement process in terms of how to engage your employees, how to make them part of your team, how to make them part of your business so that they have a specific, I guess, buy-in, I would call it, so that they have a different mindset in working and wanting to stay in your business and help you grow your business as well. So that's really great for human resource professionals in the field. And my luncheon speaker is the president and CEO of the Howard County Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Leonardo McClarty. He is an amazing speaker. I've heard him speak so many times. I know him personally as well. I've interacted with him as well. And when I presented the luncheon speaker offer to him, because I'm also a member of that chamber, he jumped all over it because he knew the speakers, and he said this is going to be a great conference. And to have him as my luncheon speaker, a gentleman of that caliber who's the president of the Howard County Chamber of Commerce, I'm actually humbled. He said yes on the spot. So I'm really excited about this all-day business conference, November 15th at Turf Valley. Tickets are on sale.
Okay, we can't say the price, so we will we'll list the website.
Sure, I appreciate
on
that.
the running credits, or you can call the chamber or Eric Linzey to get more information.
Yep.
But thank you so much, Eric, for joining us today.
Sure.
It's just my pleasure. I enjoy spending time with you.
Thank you, and it's always great to be with the chamber. It's a growing chamber. I'm a member. It's a growing chamber. You're doing a lot of great events. You and the board putting these great events on, so that the city, not only just the city of Bowie, but the residents and the businesses in Bowie can actually come together. And we really want to see more businesses out there, come to our chamber events, and they're pretty fun. They're pretty fun.
We do have fun. We have a serious note to them, and I love my job. I wake up every morning and want to go to work, so it's good. It's good. But thank you so much for joining the Bowie Business Journal, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.